Hi, everyone. My name is Frieda Nixdorf, and I am SYRCL's communications coordinator. And today we are sitting down with Aaron Zettler-Mann. He is our new Watershed Science Director. Welcome, Aaron. Thank you for being here
Thank
today.
you.
So can you tell us a bit about yourself? How did you come to love rivers? How did you come to work for rivers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like so many people that do restoration style work, I started out as a kid, playing outside in the creek behind my house in Blue Lake in rural Northern California, um, and have really kind of always been driven and motivated by waters. When I've moved, it's trying to chase water. Moving to Santa Cruz so I could surf more, working as a ski patroller in the winters and spending just about a decade guiding whitewater rafts all over California. It's all been kind of focused on water. Um, and then when I decided to go back to school to at least initially finish my bachelor's degree, I was motivated by water, and really the goal was to try to figure out a way to keep being a raft guide and keep being an outside, but be able to do a job that was a little bit easier on my back and a little bit easier on my shoulders. And when I figured out and was first introduced to the idea of field work, restoration, and being outside and studying rivers and something that was a little more career oriented, I was pretty quickly hooked. And that sort of set me on this trajectory.
Yeah, that's great having come from a intimate relationship with rivers by spending so much time on them and in them
Yeah.
to spending time on them and in them in the field.
Yeah.
That's great. So what, as you're in your new position here as
Mhm.
Watershed Science Director, what are you um, currently appreciating about your work?
One of the things that I've been really enjoying is the diversity of projects that I get to work on. So when I started at SYRCL, I was really focused on the lower Yuba River, and that's the kind of ecosystem and environment that my academic training is on. But I really enjoy playing and being outside throughout a watershed. And so this position really lets me work and think and engage in projects that really span the entire Yuba watershed. So, of course, the lower Yuba, but I also get to be involved and think and help problem solve and design projects that are looking at meadow restoration for some of those projects that we're working on. I get to think about um, the water monitoring program in this amazing 20-year data set driven by the wonderful volunteers that SYRCL has sort of worked with over many decades, and really get to kind of be involved in these projects across the watershed. So it means no 2 days or anything near alike. Lots of changes day to day and even within a day.
Is there anything in particular that you're working on right now that you're that might be particularly interesting or that you're excited about?
Yeah, there are a couple of projects that I'm really looking forward to. On Long Bar, which is in the lower Yuba River, we plan to break ground this summer, so summer 2021, for a big restoration project that'll be about 50 acres, where we're actually going to do a lot of constructing of new habitat features for juvenile salmon and steelhead rearing habitat, which is very exciting. And that's a SYRCL-led project.
I know so many of your projects are really long term. Many of them have been in the works for years and will continue to be in the works for many years.
Yeah, that's another thing that's really fun about SYRCL is that we have the opportunity, especially with the volunteers that we get to work with, is that it's possible to do these really long-term monitoring programs, which is valuable because it makes sure that we know and it helps reinforce when we do a restoration project that what we're doing is achieving the goals that we want. And if places where maybe it's not doing exactly what we expected, we get to go back and ask those questions. Well, how do we make sure that the next project is a little more efficient or can be changed, the design can be changed a little bit. So we're really making sure that we're getting the restoration goals that we want.
Yeah. I also think it must be really interesting to be working. Um, the Yuba River has such vast geographical locations. It's very different up in the meadows than it is down in the lower Yuba. And to be able to span that distance with your work and see how it impacts each other is fascinating.
Yeah, and it's not just the geography. of the watershed as well, but the people that we work with change a lot within that space as well, from Forest Service up in the upper watersheds to aggregate extraction companies in the lower watershed, and all of the agriculture and farmers and communities in between those sort of two ends of the watershed as well. It really makes for a lot of dynamic and interesting work.
Yeah, that's a really good point. There are so many people involved.
Yep, lot of people.
Yeah. And I'm curious, do you have recommendations? I mean, I know that you have your own background in education and the path that brought you here and your various careers. Do you have recommendations for anyone who might be, say, a student who's interested in a career of protecting rivers or protecting the environment, or anyone else who might be interested in being involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So certainly for students, or people that are kind of trying to figure out what they want to maybe do for a career, my recommendations would be to take a diversity of classes and expose yourself to a diversity of different ideas. I'm a geographer at heart, so I always recommend geography classes. I think that's a great way to view the world and think about the world. Um, but I would think about it in terms of sort of whatever you think is interested, kind of explore those ideas. And importantly, keep in mind that, as the saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to protect a natural resource, whether that's a river or whatever you happen to be interested in. And so what I mean by that is that if what you love is engineering, restoration projects need engineers. If what you love is fish or plants, you can be a fish biologist, you can be a plant biologist. But restoration and conservation work also needs lawyers. They need people that really enjoy crunching numbers, and working in that administrative, financial sector. I'm a fluvial geomorphologist by training, which kind of blends geology and geography and sort of landscape interactions. And that's great as well. But really, if what you want to do is conservation and restoration of open spaces, I think it's really figuring out what you want to do and then looking for that opportunity, because there are opportunities for all kinds of careers and expertise as well. And so really making sure that you leverage it towards what you want to do, um, and figuring out what that is important.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. That's good advice. So curious, one final question, which is
Mhm.
one of our most popular questions. What is your favorite Yuba River location? Can you tell us about your favorite spot on the Yuba?
As you know, I started here at SYRCL in early March and had 3 days in the office and in the area before the first round of shutdowns went into effect. So I haven't been able to do nearly as much exploring as I would like to. Um, I will say, of the places that I've been, I've enjoyed going to Edwards Crossing and then hiking up and downstream. I did a little bit of that this summer. I'm also a pretty enthusiastic whitewater kayaker. And so I'm looking forward to the rains and the spring snowmelt and being able to do a bit more kayaking. I was able to get up on the farthest upstream reaches of the South Fork of the Yuba at the Summit Run, which is where it kind of parallels 80. That was a lot of fun, but I'm also looking forward to some of our closer runs. The Edwards to Purdens is a very popular run, and then probably 49 to Bridgeport as well. But we have to get a bit more rain before that's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, you really hit the ground running when you started at SYRCL, and you've been very busy since, so it's understandable that you haven't had a lot of chances to explore the Yuba in the midst of this pandemic. We're, 10 months into it now. But there's so much to explore, and we're really excited to have you with us and in the community, and we'll look forward to hearing more about your favorite spot in the future.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to continuing to do good work and working with all of SYRCL's partners.
Great. Well, thank you. Stay tuned for updates from Aaron's work and our Watershed Science Department's work over the coming months.